Soft piano music plays. The scene fades in a small-town courthouse under grey clouds. The American flag flutters weakly outside. A man in an old army jacket steps up the courthouse stairs, holding a worn folder. Narrator. It was one of those mornings where the air felt heavy, like the world itself was judging you. And for Jack Carter, a single father and a war veteran, that couldn't have been more true. He wasn't here to fight a war with guns anymore. He was here to fight for something far more fragile, his daughter. Camera pans inside the courtroom. Wooden benches filled. People whispering. A female judge walks in, strict, proud, elegant. Narrator. Her name was Judge Victoria Reynolds. Known across the state for her sharp tongue, no-nonsense rules, and an unshakable belief that her courtroom was her kingdom. And the man standing before her, to her, looked like nothing but another failure. Judge Reynolds, mocking tone. Mr. Carter, according to these records, you failed to pay child support for 6 months, missed 3 custody hearings, and have no stable income. What makes you think you can care for a child? The courtroom went silent. All eyes were on him, the man in the faded jacket, hands trembling slightly as he held the folder. Jack, softly, Your Honor, if you'd allow me to explain. Judge Reynolds, cutting him off. I've heard this story before. Another veteran blaming PTSD for his mistakes. Another father who thinks sacrifice makes him a hero. Some people in the room chuckled quietly. But Jack didn't react. He simply stood there, silent, his pride buried deep under years of pain. Narrator. He wasn't there to beg for pity. He had fought real battles, battles where a wrong decision cost lives, not child support payments. But this fight was different. This time, he wasn't defending a country. He was defending the only person who made life worth living, his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Flashback, Jack helping Lily with homework, both laughing. The house small, but filled with warmth. Narrator. After his wife left him 3 years ago, Jack had promised one thing. I'll never let my daughter feel unloved. But when his back injury worsened and his job disappeared, the system that once called him a hero started treating him like a burden. Back to courtroom. Judge Reynolds, Mr. Carter, your record shows you once practiced law. I find that hard to believe. Jack looked up slowly, meeting her gaze. Jack, yes, I was an attorney for 10 years before I joined the military. Judge Reynolds, smirking, and now you expect this court to believe a once promising attorney can't even manage a paycheck. Laughter again. Jack's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. Jack, no, Your Honor. I expect this court to understand that sometimes life breaks even the strongest. Narrator. The judge rolled her eyes, unimpressed. To her, Jack was another sad story, a man who failed at life and now wanted sympathy. But at the back of the room, one person wasn't laughing. A young lawyer, Sarah Mitchell, watched quietly. She had read Jack's old legal cases the night before. She recognized his name. This man wasn't just any lawyer. He had once been brilliant. Judge Reynolds bangs her gavel. Judge Reynolds, temporary custody of Lily Carter will be awarded to her mother until further notice. Jack's heart dropped. The words echoed like gunfire in his chest. Jack, please, Your Honor. She's all I have. I can prove I can take care of her. Just give me a chance. Judge Reynolds, coldly, you've already had plenty of chances. This case is adjourned. Gavel slams. Scene cuts to slow motion, Jack standing alone, people leaving, his face blank with shock. Cut to outside the courthouse. It's raining. Jack sits on the steps, rain dripping off his jacket. He stares at the papers in his hand. Narrator. Sometimes, the world doesn't break you all at once. It does it piece by piece, until you forget who you once were. But that night, something changed. Sarah walks up, holding an umbrella. Sarah, Mr. Carter? You don't know me, but I saw what happened in there. I'm sorry. Jack, bitterly, don't be. The judge did her job. Sarah, maybe. But she doesn't know who you really are. Jack looks up, confused. Sarah, you were Jack Carter, the attorney who won 3 federal appeals and defended veterans' rights in 2008. You're not some broken man. You're a fighter. He stays silent, staring at the rain. Then he finally whispers, Jack, that man doesn't exist anymore. Sarah, then maybe it's time to bring him back. Narrator. That night, Jack couldn't sleep. He opened an old box under his bed, full of dusty law books, faded certificates, and a framed photo of him in a suit shaking hands with a judge. He wiped the dust from the glass, whispering to himself, For you, Lily. I'll fight again. Music rises, determined tone. Narrator. For 2 weeks, Jack studied every case file, every statute, every ruling Judge Reynolds had ever made. He wasn't preparing to beg. He was preparing to win. When the next hearing day arrived, something in him had changed. Gone was the beaten man in the army jacket. In his place stood the man he used to be, confident, calm, unshakable. Courtroom again. Judge Reynolds enters, surprised to see Jack in a clean suit, briefcase beside him. Judge Reynolds, Mr. Carter, have you finally found an attorney to represent you? Jack, smiling faintly, yes, Your Honor. Myself. A murmur runs through the courtroom. Judge Reynolds, condescending, representing yourself? That's quite bold, Mr. Carter. Jack, I face tougher opponents. Trial begins. Jack presents his evidence with precision. He dismantles every false claim made by his ex-wife's lawyer, quoting case law fluently. The crowd watches in awe. Narrator. Every word, every objection, every point, carried the weight of truth. Jack wasn't just fighting a legal battle. He was reclaiming his identity. Judge Reynolds leans forward, surprised. Judge Reynolds, Mr. Carter, this evidence you submitted, how did you obtain it? Jack, legally. Just as I was trained to. Judge Reynolds, pausing, you haven't practiced in years, yet you argue like a seasoned attorney. Jack, some skills don't fade, Your Honor. Especially when the stakes are your child. Jack gives his final statement. Jack, Your Honor, I know I don't have much. I don't have a mansion or a big bank account. But what I do have is love, stability, and the promise I made to my daughter when she was born, to never abandon her. She's not a case number. She's my world. And I'll spend every breath I have to protect that. Silence. Even the opposing lawyer looks down. Judge Reynolds exhales slowly. Soft piano plays. The judge's expression softens, the same judge who once mocked him now looks almost emotional. Judge Reynolds, Mr. Carter, when I first saw you, I thought you were another excuse waiting to happen. But today, you reminded me what true strength looks like. This court grants full custody of Lily Carter to her father, Jack Carter. Gavel slams. The audience gasps, then softly claps. Jack stands frozen, tears welling up in his eyes. Outside courtroom, sunlight replaces the grey sky. Sarah runs up to Jack. Sarah, you did it. You made her see the truth. Jack, smiling, I didn't do it for her. I did it for Lily. Lily runs up, jumping into her father's arms. Lily, Daddy. Are we going home now? Jack, holding her tightly, yeah, sweetheart. We're going home. Narrator. Sometimes, the greatest battles aren't fought on battlefields, but in quiet courtrooms, where a father's love becomes his greatest weapon. Jack Carter reminded the world that you can't judge a man by his scars. Because sometimes, the ones who've been broken are the ones who rebuild the world around them. Cut to Judge Reynolds watching them leave from her chamber window. She smiles faintly. Judge Reynolds, softly, he wasn't just a soldier. He was justice itself. Music swells, uplifting tone. Narrator, closing. Jack Carter's story isn't just about winning custody. It's about redemption, resilience, and the power of never giving up. So if you've ever been doubted, judged, or underestimated, remember. Your story isn't over. It's just waiting for its comeback. Fire if this story inspires